Alright, the last one I'm going to talk about is, I think, number 14. And when you deal with this problem, you need to understand that we've done this a ton of times, that you're dealing with three separate problems. The bases are the big numbers, your exponents are your small numbers. So when we deal with this one, we're going to deal with 2 to the second divided by 2 to the negative 3. If you look at this problem, the bottom is going to win. Well, hold up. We can't do the bottom is going to win right now because we have a negative exponent. You're never allowed to have a negative exponent. You have to make it positive. So move it up and add it to that 2, and you're going to get 2 to the 5th. That's on your numerator side. Now let's deal with the 5s. I have 5, negative 1. You're not allowed to have a negative 1. It has to come down and get added to the bottom. That's going to become 5 to the 3rd. And the last one's messing with you big time because they're 3s, they're both negative. So the 5 comes down and becomes positive, the 1 comes up and becomes positive, and then you battle. And the bottom is going to win the battle by 4 because you subtract them. And there's your final answer. That one's kind of tough, kind of challenging. So let me ask you again, what would you do when you have a negative exponent? Okay, I jumped ahead to number 12. If you can look at it and you get to flip your sheet over. Number 12 isn't too tough except for this idea of this word all. Choose all expressions that are equivalent. So when you're going to do that, you're going to do the middle part first, this middle part of your parentheses. We've done this for warm-ups a ton. And if you get that answer, you need to realize you're adding those exponents in the middle. Negative 6 plus 4, you're going to get negative 2. And let's put that in parentheses still with the 3 on the outside. Now what you have to do when you have this 2 on the outside and inside, that means you're going to multiply those. So when you multiply those, you should get 2 to the negative 6. As I look at that, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm done. I have my answer right there. But what else equals 2 to the negative 6? Not A and not C, but if I was to add B, it would also equal 2 to the negative 6. So you got to be very careful on which ones you see in the answers, okay? Be detectives, alright? I want to make sure you can handle this. Now, let's go ahead and go to the next problem. Number 13 is a little different. And it looks bizarre, and we went over square roots before. So I know I'm not going to mess with you too much, but just remember that when you're dealing with square roots, I want to know what two numbers you think 45 is in between. And why don't I ask you real quick, which two perfect squares is 45 in between? And hopefully you realize the square root of 36 and the square root of 49. Which, let's go even further. Let me change the size of my marker a little. This is 6 and this is 7. So you know your answer is between 6 and 7. And it's actually going to be closer to 7, so maybe like 6.6 or 6.7. We'll just say 6.6, just for fun. Now, seeing that this answer is 6.6 right here, okay, let's go ahead and tackle the next one, square root of 37. And I'm going to back up things a little bit so you can have some room to clear. We're going to call this 6.6. And make it a little cleaner. 6.6. Now what about this one? 37. Well, I know 36 is a perfect square, and I know 49 is. And we know it's 6 point something, and didn't we just kind of realize that this is really close to 36, so it's probably like 6.1. Alright, and if this is 6.1, you said that was close to 6.1, and we're supposed to add these together, that'll eventually equal 12.7. Now, which answer are you going to pick, A, B, C, or D, when you're looking at this? You're going to look at this and obviously pick C. So this one took some time. You had to realize that the square root of 45 is 6 point something. Square root of 37 is 6 point something. Add them together and realize that your answer has to be closest to 13. Some higher level stuff, but if you were to get this right on the state test, they would probably give you some extra points because it's a little more challenging than your normal problems. Now, number 4 is a little different. It's a little interesting on how to handle. Let's take a look at it. And if it says, what is the distance between the points 10, negative 3, and -2, +6. And they're giving you coordinates. When that happens, I hope your mind starts thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe I should draw a graph, okay? And I know they kind of got some bigger numbers here, but it's over 10 down 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then down 3. And that's where one of the coordinates is, over 10 down 3. And the other coordinate says it's at -2, +6. -2, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice how I'm not being very neat, but I could still figure this out. I could still do this even if my graph is not perfect. It's not like a transformation or a rotation. Now, it wants to know what the distance is between these two lines, or these 2 points, excuse me. To figure that out, we've done this before, you have to create your own legs in this problem. And to do that, you could do it this way and create it this way, or you could do it this way and create your legs this way, as long as you're creating a perfect right triangle. And the way I like to look at it, I like to look at it this way and this way. And you're going to get graph paper on the benchmark, and you might as well just use the graph paper and on the SBAC itself. So go ahead and count, and we just did this before. I'm going to use a different color here. If we count from here, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then we're going to go down another 3. So 6 plus 3, this side's going to be 9, okay? So let me clean that up a little bit again. From here to here is 9 units. So that leg is 9, and then from this 2 on this side all the way to this spot, which was 10 over 2 plus 10 is 12. So we're just counting the units. Now you have to figure out what x is. Go ahead and do the formula, and let's check your answer. Alright guys, I created this video to help you study for your benchmark. You can use this as much as you'd like. It's going to be put into an Edpuzzle, I hope, so you can actually answer questions as you're going throughout the worksheet. So this is the one I want you to complete in class. The one that you're going to be given for homework looks very similar. If you want to use this video to help you on your homework, that would be great too. Let's zoom into the first one just to get you a little reminder. When we're dealing with this one, we're going to be dealing with a formula of leg squared plus leg squared equals hypo squared. When we deal with that, we have to find, if we want to know where our legs are, you always have to find the L, which stands for our legs, okay? And if I see this, I see leg equals 21 and leg equals B here, okay? So we have to set up the equation with that in mind. When I set up the equation, I'm going to have 21 squared plus b squared equals 35 squared. And if we solve this equation, we realize that we're going to have very big numbers, but we're going to have to first square them, which 21 times 21 is 441 plus b squared equals, and 35 times 35 is 1225. Now at this point I'm going to ask you a question. What are we supposed to do now? With this step in our equation skills, we have to now figure this out. What are we going to do with this 441 on this left side? And hopefully you realize that you are going to have to take this 441 and subtract it over to this side. You have to subtract. When you don't have one of your legs, you must subtract. And 1225 minus 441, you're going to get 784. Now you're almost done. You have to square root both sides. And oddly enough, the square root of 784 is a whole number. It equals 28. So this b right here is going to equal 28. You can use the same method as you keep going on throughout this worksheet. Don't forget your formula. This is review for the benchmark. You should get all of these correct on the benchmark. There's 5 of them. Now the next one can be a little confusing just looking at it, because you also need to read it for me. And as you're reading throughout this, it says you have a 37-inch TV, which means that that it measures 37 inches diagonally as shown. diagonally as shown, this is going to be 37 inches, and that's how TVs are measured. If the TV is 20 inches high, how wide is it? Round your answer to the nearest inch. When you hear nearest inch, just nearest whole number, okay? And what it just told you was very important information. It said this is 37 and this is 20. And hopefully you can see this without me showing you that this right here is your triangle. And guess what? You are missing, just like the problem before, you are missing the leg down here. I gave it x. So set up your problem again, leg squared plus leg squared equals hypo squared. And do the problem on your own. We're going to check your work and check your answer in just a second.